David. David? If I remember. I remember his face.
I'm still reading to
Okay. So there's a few things going on. There's first of all these. This is what I gave out last week, but if you didn't bring it, so you have it again. This is the Maaseh Merkava Yecheskel. And this is what Rabbi Kaplan says about it, plus a few things. So exactly what order we'll deal with it in, we'll see. Just to see what we have here, what you have in your hands, is you see you have the text of the vision, which is Perek Aleph, it's chapter 1. The reason I gave it out last week is because it was part of the Tikkun of Shavuot, because it was the Haftarah of Shavuot. It's a very powerful thing, and the question is, why is it, what does it have to do with Shavuot? We're reading of Matan Torah, in Parashat Yitro, and out of nowhere comes Yecheskel. Anybody know what they say about this? What the Zohar says, what Rabbi Nachman says, what the Alter Rebbe says?
Why Yecheskel?
Why Yecheskel is the Haftarah? We could have read like something else, I don't know.
Kibel.
Me?
Kibel the Torah. So there's a connection.
Don't understand.
Well, I mean, it's Shavuot the day that
we receive the Torah on Shavuot.
So there has to be some connection with that.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because we see all the angels. He sees all the angels.
He sees the angels.
And there's the Midrash that Moshe went to receive the Torah, and the angels argued with Hashem, who shouldn't give it to him.
Yafeh.
At the end of the day, the Torah is for us.
Mm-hmm.
So Haskell's going up there and he's like, experienced by angels, but like, it's about when he comes down, it's what he brings.
Okay, we saw last week and the week before that Yecheskel was given permission to say everything he said. He described his nevuah and the actual process and the actual details of his nevuah more than anybody else, more than any other Navi. And the Zohar says because he was doing this in order to give Am Yisrael the comfort to know that Hashem was with us. That Hashem's whole entourage from Shemayim came down into Babylon, and that Hashem was with us. Which is a very beautiful teaching. Okay, so what the vision culminates in Yecheskel seeing a vision of what looks like a man on a throne. And so Rabbi Nachman says that starts with Pesach, that the Omer immediately after Pesach is a barley offering. It's of seor. And seor is animal food. And there's all kinds of things about barley, and there's wherever else it appears in the Torah, which is the korban of the sota, of the woman who is accused by her husband of being with another man, and she has to bring a barley offering. So it's a very low-level thing to bring a barley offering, relatively speaking. In terms of agriculture, the barley does ripen before the wheat, and wheat is not going to ripen until Shavuot. So agriculturally, there doesn't seem to be anything too deep about it, but the symbolism of barley is such that it's called animal food, and that the night after Pesach, which is Pesach, the mouth that's open, Pesach, the mouth that speaks, which is the highest level of medaber, of man, and then the day after we go down to the level of animal, and we do what's called Tinufata Omer. Tinufata Omer, Rabbi Nachman says, maybe even before him it says, is Tinu Pe, give us a mouth. Tinu Fa, Tinu Fe, give us a mouth. We just had a mouth last night. We came up to a very high level of praising of Hashem, and now all of a sudden, the next day after Pesach, we're down like, almost like where we were beforehand. Not exactly, but okay. You get picked up, and then you get put down. The reason you got picked up is now that when I let you down, now you're going to start to do the work that you're going to start picking yourself up, which is the concept of the Omer. And then, so on Shavuot, it's Shnei Lechem, it's 2 loaves of bread that are wheat and are chametz, specifically. Wheat being human consumption and chametz. So all the symbolism is that we're building up from the level of animal to the level of human. Yecheskel sees a man on a throne. That's us. We are creating our own ability to be completely mature and get gadlut rishon, gadlut sheni, gadlut shliana. Whenever we're coming to full maturity of what mankind is, full consciousness of what our responsibilities are and what our mission is in the world, which is to embody godliness. So it kind of all fits together. I don't want to go too much into it. I hope that helped a little bit. The man on the throne. God, there's no man up there. There's no throne up there. It's all prophetic vision. It's all dreamlike vision. The Mefarshim are very strong on that. He did not see this in any literal way, but of course, it was given to him to see these things. So it's a bona fide prophetic experience. Okay, so this class is always, the attempt is to split it up into 2 or 3 pieces, with 2 or 3, something which is prophecy, prayer, and meditation. What's nevuah? What's the experience like? What's the information also that comes in, the intellectual understanding of what nevuah is? What happens to the prophet? How the prophet, the Navi, had to do how to go in deeply into himself. So we need to be able to do that, some corresponding effort on our part to stop the thinking process and the information retrieval and to go into a deeper level in order to somehow share with what's going on with the Navi. And then in certain cases we've gone and we've shown how that's all incorporated into the prayers, and how the whole prayer system is based on going up into transcendence and coming down with whatever we can into our lives, embodying that. And how the whole prayer system is in and up in order to come back down and out and to embody. Hey, shalom aleichem. Okay. So having said that, so you have inner space. It's open to page 142. We'll just learn a little bit inside and deal with the ideas that Rav Aryeh Kaplan deals with. He has just quoted the entire text of Yecheskel on the top of page 142. And it's a little different from what I did because mine was later, more closer to now, and I fixed certain things, and I was more careful about certain things and how to be more sensitive in the English to what it's saying in the Hebrew. So in page 142, Yecheskel starts with the words Vayehi. Vayehi b'shloshim shana b'revi'i b'hamisha l'chodesh. He gives us a time orientation. Va'ani betoch hagola al nahar kvar, and he gives us a spatial orientation, and I was among the exiles, the captivity, on the river Kvar. I think I really would like to go into that today. Niftechu hashamayim va'yar'eh mar'ot Elohim, the heavens were open, and I saw visions of God, which again, as I said, is interpreted to mean that the heavens of his brain opened up, and he saw powerful, he had understandings that were given to him of what was going on for his people, what was going on historically, that the temple would be destroyed or was about to be destroyed, and that the chariot is, what's the chariot meaning? A lot of that is here in the written stuff. I won't go into all of it in what we say here today, but so Rabbi Kaplan says, Vayehi, he brings a tradition that this expression usually indicates a time of trouble. Vayhi. So we have a famous tradition, and Vayhi bimei Ahashverosh, and it was in the days of Ahashverosh. Vayhi bimei Shefot HaShoftim, and it was in the days of the judging of the judges. So the rabbis say in Masechet Megillah that Vayhi bimei for sure is usually a bad scene. Vayhi, it's not consistent. So, but still, even though there's some vayhis that are not bad, but in general, we end up with that general statement that it doesn't have to be vayhi bimei, it can just be vayhi. Rav Hirsch explains it in a very beautiful way, which I'll try and give over to you now very, very tersely, is that there's a just special thing in the Torah called the Vav HaMehapech, the transformative Vav. And it's like everywhere throughout the entire Torah. Almost 99% of the verses in the Torah start with the Vav HaMehapech. What does this Vav do? Vaydaber Hashem el Moshe lemor. What is Vaydaber? It's Yidaber, and you put a Vav in front of it. Instead of Yidaber in the future, Vaydaber means what? Hashem spoke. V'haya im shamoa, and it will be that if you will listen, it takes the haya of the past, and you put a vav in front of it, and it becomes the future. What is a strange thing, right? It's a vav that changes the past into the future, and the future into the past. Wow, that's far out. So the other half of this chazal is that not only is vayhi a bad scene, the haya is a good scene. So the question is why? The haya is simcha, and vayhi is oiveh. So the Rav Hirsch, in his writings, collected writings, I have it at home. This is what I get from it. It's definitely my way of communicating it, but I really got it from him. Is that the vav is like a pair of glasses, and if you put on your glasses with the glasses of the past to look into the future, then the future is just going to be like the past was. And who needs it? It's bad. Yehi, with the vav of the past, looking into the yehi of the future. Oh, veh. Just more of the same. I want out. I don't like this stuff. But if you put the vav of the future in front of the past, and kol shekin in front of the future, and you look and you see that the past is a stepping stone to a bright future, then it's like, wow, the future is bright. And even the past that seemed to me to be dismal was really just a way of getting to the future. So therefore it becomes transformed, and it doesn't seem to have this negative feeling that it had, because it's allowing me to be who I am today that I couldn't have been otherwise. It's giving me certain sensitivities as I've gone through certain things for a reason. So that's, again, my take on it. If this is the first time you've ever heard it, you're gonna need to hear it again, because then you can give it over, because it's a really very beautiful. It's a beautiful concept. The vav, either the vav ha'ipuch or the vav ha'mehapech, the transformative vav. So he says, Ezekiel's text starts with the words vayehi, and it was. This expression usually indicates a time of trouble. In this case, the trouble refers primarily to the Galut. Prophecy was coming to an end at that time. Ezekiel was one of the last of the prophets. He was in exile in the land of the Chaldeans in Babylon. Once the temple would be destroyed and the remainder of the Jews exiled from the land of Israel, would be no more prophecy. So he got it. The reason for this is that prophecy itself requires a number of conditions. First of all, it can usually take place only in the land of Israel and not in any other land. The land of Israel, however, is not conducive to prophecy at all times. Before prophecy can exist in the land of Israel, it must be settled and inhabited by the majority of the Jews in the world. All these things, these footnotes are in the text giving the sources for this. Whenever he didn't say something like this in class, I got it from another book that he wrote. And I was able to thread it in to give a fuller picture. Or what he said in class wasn't enough, wasn't clear enough. And then I read in another of his books, for instance, this comes from Handbook of Jewish Thought, almost word for word. So it's his words, but again, in class, you don't say everything in the order that you want to write them in. This is actually evident in the Torah's words concerning prophecy. Hashem, your God, will raise up a prophet in your midst. We learn from this that prophecy can exist only in the midst, in the land of Israel. And it's only called in your midst when it's populated by all, or at least the majority of the Jewish people. It's through the concentrated spiritual energy of the entire Jewish people that prophecy exists. And such concentration is only effective in the land of Israel. Very interesting, right? Then it's going to be a question, well, wait a second, he's in Babylon, so how is he getting prophecy? Well, he's going to answer that in a second. After the first diaspora, the situation never existed again where the majority of Jews lived in Israel. In spite of the fact, however, that prophecy was going to come to an end due to exile, the whole mystery of prophecy was not to be lost. There would come a time when it would be needed again. The Rambam thus writes in his Ageret Teman that one of the conditions of the pre-Messianic era will be the restoration of prophecy. In fact, he holds that Eliyahu will come before Mashiach, and this means that prophecy will be instated because Eliyahu will be a Navi. So if you work backwards from Mashiach, in order to have a king Mashiach, you need a Navi to declare the king, and you have to have a Sanhedrin to declare the Navi. In order to have a Sanhedrin, you have to have a people. So interestingly enough, at the end of Beit Sheni, the Beit Din Hagadol in Yerushalayim went out of business. It said too many people are doing too many things wrong. There's no way for us to implement the laws of the Torah. Like, for instance, if a person is Mechalal Shabbat, Bifar Hesia, B'Kavanah, and all those things, the Beit Din one, even though it's very hard to do it because all the conditions would be very hard to fulfill. But let's say this guy fulfilled all the conditions, but we can't kill him because the whole Am Yisrael has gone down. And we're not all on one high level, then an individual doing something wrong is not culpable. It's a collective entity, Am Yisrael. So when the level of Klal Yisrael goes down, then the whole possibility of keeping the entire Torah with Beit Din Hagadol, Sanhedrin, enforcing the Torah goes off. We don't kill people just stam. Killing another human being is very serious. That's why any religion that kills people, irrespective of who they are and what they are, right, just because of what they're doing, is obviously not a godly religion. It's a sick, deranged machala, and mankind doesn't know what to do with it. And why we're being faced with this at this time is a hard one. And we haven't seen the end of it. We have to have a very deep emunah that something's happening here. That is, who knows what's going to happen before the elections in America and all that. Okay. So killing somebody is a very serious thing, and you don't just kill somebody for what they did. They have to indicate that I did this, and I'm doing it on purpose, and I don't care what you say. I'm doing it right now. And this whole like a lot of these conditions, Who's going to do that? Who's going to be so crazy? A Jew is usually not going to be so crazy, so it's very hard to kill a Jew. All right, I don't want to go too far off. I did bring in a page of exactly the sources of 77, 78, and 79, just to see if we need it. Let me see. There's a few things involved here, so forgive me. Rambam. There's no doubt, this is Rambam Igeret Teiman. There's no doubt that the restoration of prophecy is a hakdama, a first phase of Mashiach, i.e. one of the conditions of the pre-Messianic era is the restoration of prophecy. שנאמר, והיה אחרי כן אשפוך את רוחי על כל בשר וניבאו בניכם ובנותיכם זקניכם חלומות יהלומון בחוריכם חזיונות יראו וגם על העבדים ועל השפחות בימים המה אשפוך את רוחי. This is the meaning of Joel's prophecy. I will pour my prophetic spirit out on all flesh, and your sons and daughters will prophesy. Your old men will dream dreams, and your young men will see visions. Upon male servants and maidservants as well, in those days I shall pour out my spirit. That's Rambam in Igeret Tema. In Mishnah Torah, Rambam says, "Yireh mipshutan shel divrei nevi'im shebetchilat yemot haMashiach tiyeh milchemet Gog uMagog." From the simple meaning of a number of prophecies, we see that the Messianic age will begin with the war of Gog and Magog. Shekodem milchemet Gog uMagog ya'amod navi lYisrael liyasher Yisrael u'lahachin libam. Before this war of Gog and Magog, a prophet will arise to rectify Israel and prepare their hearts. Shneimar hinei anochi sholech lachem et Eliyah hanavi lifnei bo yom hagadol, yom Adonai hagadol v'hanora. Behold, I will send you Eliyah, the prophet, before the great and awesome day of Rabbi Kaplan writes, according to this, Eliyahu Navi will appear before the Mashiach's arrival. This too indicates that prophecy will be reinstated. This is necessary because the Mashiach will be a king, and a king can be appointed only by a prophet. Like it says, "Ein ma'amidim melech b'tchila ela al pi bedin shel shviim zekinim." You don't raise up a prophet except by authority of the Beit Din, of the 70 elders. The al pi navi, and also with the authority of a prophet. So this, and then there's Rambam in his commentary on Mishnah and Sanhedrin and all these things. I brought it. I didn't make copies of it, but Rabbi Kaplan ends up by saying, the Holy One has promised to restore the judges. This is Rambam, sorry. As the verse states in Yeshaya, I will restore your judges as of old, and your counselors as in the beginning. Afterwards, you, Yerushalayim, will be called city of righteousness, faithful city. This will undoubtedly occur when the Creator prepares the hearts of the children of men, and their merit is increased, and their desire and longing is for His blessed name and for His Torah, and their wisdom will expand. All this will occur before Mashiach, as is clear from many verses. Kaplan, this is logical. Before a prophet can anoint a king, he must first be formally accredited by the Supreme Court of the Jewish people. Thus, there's a tradition that Eliyahu will initially appear before the great Sanhedrin in Jerusalem in order to be recognized by this body. So I just thought I'd share that. Sorry.
How's the Sanhedrin put together?
How is the Sanhedrin? So you need the level of peoplehood. You need people to come together and not just be a bunch of billions of thousands of individuals who all want to do their thing. You have to be ready to accept that there have to be certain sages who are ready to accept the responsibility to start clarifying the halacha for all the issues that have to be right. And nobody wants to do it nowadays. Everybody feels too small, we're inadequate, we don't have it, we can't do this. There was a starting of what's called the Nation Sanhedrin, NASCENT. They put Rabbi Steinsaltz at the head of it. And most of the rabbis who were involved were totally unknown. Rabbi Avadia and Rabbi Elyashiv stayed in the background and said, we'll see what happens. Yeah, Rav Yoel Schwartz is maybe one of the bigger rabbis on there. He's very special. But it never really, it still exists. They're still meeting, but it's in the background.
When you say they clarify the for all Jews, that mean there won't be differences between Sephardi, Ashkenazi, like different?
I don't know how to answer that question. It could be like there were Shvatim, there were tribes in the old days, that there'd still be legitimate differences between. But there's something else. There's some unified thing that we don't have. So we try and do it spiritually. We try and, the Ari said it's very important before you daven every morning, and even at Mincha and Marav, to say, Areini mikabel alai mitzvat aseh shel ve'ahavta l'recha kamocha, ani Hashem, I receive upon myself to love every, right? Ani ohev et kol echad miYisrael k'nafshi u'meodi. I love every other Yisrael. So the Ari writes about this and says, this is the root of this is because we all are really one soul. We all come from one soul. We're all just a bifurcation of one great soul. 6 million, 6 billion. We all share one root. And when we're not, and down here in desert land, in Bamidbar, what happens in the Midbar is the earth cracks. And then the water comes. Water is needed to bring the earth together, to make it into one single thing, but there's no water. We have no nevuah now. So without water, we're at a loss. It's not totally our fault that we're all broken apart, fragmented, splintered. Everybody has their own idea. There's a lot of din. People who keep the halacha say that the people who don't keep the halacha are at fault. It's their fault that the Mashiach is not here. We're doing the right thing. But anybody who's honest knows, who am I to say they're doing the wrong thing and I'm the ruiner? Like, hello, be a little bit humble. Everybody has to have fix. Okay. A little humility. And Shavuot was a very special time to inculcate that, to know that, to love, to see others with good eyes, to go into the spiritual power of what happened at Sinai. Did you get my thing? You have the parable? I have a few left. Maybe it's like not worth anything after Shavuos, huh? That's for later. Did you get one? Oh no, I didn't send it to you. So I get it to you now. Whoever didn't get it, I have a few left. It's called the Parable of Shavuot, or Parable for Shavuot, where what we experienced at the mountain was total transformation of earth reality into heaven. Our souls left us every time Hashem spoke until the physical world itself, the mountain itself, the ground under our feet, nothing was physical. It freaked us out. We said to Moshe, we can't handle this. You speak to us, don't let Hashem speak to us. Because every time Hashem speaks, our souls are magnetized into another dimension. The heavens open. There's no physical world for us. Nafshi yatsa b'davro, my soul left. My soul left when he spoke. My soul departed.
That's hard Sinai.
Wow.
Something left.
Wow, that's interesting. That's that reality actually is off on, but it's happening so fast that we think it's just on all the time. So that was a little okay. I think this is still on. Huh? Everything is on. Okay. Okay, I was among the exiles. So what was that? What was the answer? He's going to come to the answer later of how could Yecheskel receive prophecy if he's not in Eretz Yisrael, and that that's it. There's no more temple. So at the bottom of the page, we'll skip there for a second. I was on the river Kvar. Actually, it's really Kvar. It's not K-H, Kvar. It's K-E-V-A-R, if you want to know how it's pronounced in Hebrew. Kvar. Kvar. A question is raised in the first Mechilta in Parshat Bo. How could Yecheskel receive a prophetic vision when it is known that this is possible only in the land of Israel? One of the answers offered is that anybody who has already experienced prophecy in the Holy Land could then have it elsewhere. Okay, nice. Another answer is that the prophet may be alone in a pure place, as in the case of Ezekiel, who was in a river, a body of pure water similar to a mikveh. Thus, the fact that the text reads on the river Kvar and not near the river may mean that he was actually in the river where it was pure enough for him to achieve prophecy. I think he brings in the footnotes, number 86, 87. He brings a lot about mikveh. But before that, something else is that, or he's going to say here, what he's about to say, that kvar is a very interesting word for a river. We don't have any rivers like that. It's obviously made up. And it's another river. Some could say it's the Pirat, it was the Euphrates. But why did he call it the kvar? The word kvar means already was. The Zohar claims in a number of places that this river that already was is the river from Eden. This river has a number of important connotations. As I wrote in Waters of Eden, the river of Eden is first of all seen as a spiritual source of all the waters in the world. And goes into this whole thing with mikveh. Skip a little bit down to the Zohar brings additional information on the link between Eden and the river Kvar. It states that the first hay of the Havaya, Hashem's name, corresponding to the sphere of Bina, is Eden. The river that flows from Eden is the Vav, corresponding to Zeir Anpin. As we've mentioned, when you give charity, you make a yichud, unification of Yud Ke Vav Ke. The Yud represents the coin, Hey is the hand that gives it, Vav is the arm reaching out, and Hey is the hand of the poor man who takes it. There's God's charity as well. Yud is the 10 sayings which He created the world. Hey is the hand with which He gives us to us. Vav is the gesture with which He stretches out and gives. The final Hey is the ability He gives us to take what He wants to give us. Let's let Him go on a little bit longer. Vav, meaning and, is the connection in this as well as in many other ways. Vav is an arm. The numerical value of Vav is 6. Whole thing here. The last words on this page. Eden would be the Hey, the hand that gives. The river that comes from Eden is the Vav, God reaching out to us. That was the whole thing. The truth is that there are other ways to see this also. And so look at your pages that you have behind these first 2 pages and see what you have in your set. You have a page that reads Baruch, source of all blessings. And that's a 2-page set. And then behind that is this page, which I think is right, very special page. What do you see here? You see the river Kvar. You see the word Karav. What's Karav? That's the root of the word the Kerub, the Keruvim. You see Becher. What's that? Bechor. In other words, they all have a meaning. It's not, you can't always get every three-letter root and give it a meaning in all of its permutations. There's 6 permutations to every 3-letter word. So there's Becher, which is Bechor. There's Berech, which is Baruch. There's Rechev, which is the root of Merkava and Rechev and Rekevet and Rochev. The rider of a horse is a Rochev. And Rabach is the most the rarest one. Rabach is there's a the use of the word Rabach. It appears 3 times in the Tanakh. Is somewhere here. It's when you put a piece of dough in water before you put it in oil. Yeah. Where is it? al machbat b'shemen te'aseh murbechet. Or al ta'aseh murbechet tiviena. Tufine minchat pitim. Takriv reach nichoach Hashem. Rashi chaluta berotchin kol tzorcha. You put this piece of dough in water and you let it cook a little bit, and then you put it in shemen, and what do you get? It doesn't soak up the shemen as much as it would. And it's called from the root rabach. I have no idea anything else. That's all I know about it. So, what Rabbi Kaplan says on page 145 at the top, at the second paragraph from the top, this is what we're going to go into a little bit. The word kvar is spelled kav beit resh. We have mentioned the fact that kruv, rachav, and merkava are all permutations of the same three letters. It's therefore highly significant that Ezekiel's vision took place on the river Kvar. In addition, the word Baruch also shares the same root letters. It's not by chance, therefore, that the climax of Ezekiel's vision, the prophet describes himself being lifted up and hearing the rushing sound of the Chayot exclaiming, Baruch Chevod Hashem Imkomo. So you have a bunch of stuff in Yecheskel of this three-letter root and the different permutations of it. And on page 223 in the book, on footnote number 98, you're going to have that actually in the pages that I prepared. So forgive me for like a little bit being all over the place, but to the best of my ability, I prepared beforehand. So the page that starts Baruch, source of all blessing. It's from a book that I wrote. I wrote a whole book on Baruch. It's all about the power of blessing. So at the top you have this idea here but the explanation is, what does Baruch have to do with Bechor? Right? The root letters of Baruch are Beit Reish Chaf, and the root letters of Bechor are Beit Chaf Reish. The conceptual link between them is alluded to in the Torah. From ancient times, all firstborn sons, all Bechor, received a double portion of their father's inheritance. And so you see that the letters of both of these words are 222. The gematria 222. Reish is 200, Beit Chaf is 20, and Beit is 2. So isn't it nice that a Bechor, the blessing that the Bechor receives is a double portion? It's part of the language. Got it? Then I go into this idea. The number 2 represents the concept of a containment or a vessel. The third paragraph from the top. This is seen in the meaning of the Hebrew words that are formed by each of these letters. So when you take the letter Beit alone and spell it out as a word, it becomes Bait, a house. When we take the letter Kaf, it spell it out, it means palm. It's palm of the hand. Reish is the word becomes Rosh, meaning head. They all hold something. The head holds ideas. The hand holds tangible objects. The house holds, people living in it. So there's a conceptual link. What are they meant to contain? What are the letters Beit Reish Chaf meant to contain? Through Midrash, we're told that a creation which begins with the letter Beit of Breshit was not complete until it became a vessel for the revelation of the Torah on Mount Sinai, which begins with Aleph. So Bereshit, the vessel of creation, awaited the Anochi of Hashem. That's very important that all of creation is Aleph and Beis, lights and vessels. And that our world is the vessel, and we make ourselves into a vessel. And when we say Baruch, we are connecting ourselves down here in weight, and we're making ourselves into a vessel to receive Aleph. Baruch Ata. Ata is Aleph, Baruch is Beit. So in the same way, the last paragraph in the big print, in the same way, the Beit Reish Chava Baruch is not complete until it becomes a vessel to channel and reveal the Aleph of Hashem's presence. Baruch is thus a Merkava, or a Rechev, a vehicle for the ultimate I-thou relationship. In one sense, man is the Rochev, the rider of the divine Merkava, where he causes divine blessing to flow into the system of the universe through his recognition of Hashem as the ultimate source. In another sense, Hashem is the Rochev who oversees and supervises the worlds he created in order to bestow his blessings. So then I bring the what Rabbi Kaplan said. The first is from the text on the page we're on, and then there's a continuation of it from the fifth, sixth, seventh line down. At the end of the line, it says, "This strongly." You got that? So Mamish in the middle, the last two words on the line, "This strongly," suggests that part of Ezekiel's vision involved meditating on the letters of the Hebrew alphabet. This is an extremely powerful technique for moving from verbal consciousness with Bina to nonverbal. This is the Abulafian system of letter permutations. That's why I printed it out for you so you could see it. The Abulafian system, he didn't make it up, but he saw that from things like this, that when letters are permutated and their positions are switched, and also gematrias, so it's a mental exercise that frees the mind from physicality, because just like for Pythagoras, mathematics, numbers God is a mathematician, and therefore mathematics is the stage between God and creation. So when you go into numbers, you transcend physical reality. So for us, the letters are the same equivalent concept. So that's why when we're going to try and do a meditation in a second with this idea. So when we remember that such a technique was used to set up a mystical chariot and to form a mental image of a golem or an angel, a cherub, this particular permutation of letters becomes all the more significant. The word Baruch in general refers to drawing God's presence down into the world, i.e. maximizing our ability to experience the divine in our lives. So look at these permutations for a second. The first two start with Chaf, the second two start with Beit, and the third pair starts with Reish, right? That's when you want to make some kind of order. You start with the same first letter, and you do the two possible permutations, the Kvar and Karav. $20, then 2, then 200. So you can work with this in a number of ways. First of all, we'll get out of the intellectual mode and please relax and sit comfortably and breathe. Again, there's a number of ways to do it. Let's just be a little bit fluid about it. Kvar is already. That reality is already waiting for us. It's already been there before we become aware of it. God is there before we become aware of him. He's been there all the time. waiting for us to become aware of him. Kvar. Just in itself an interesting word. Already. It's already been there from the beginning. It roots back up into something that pre-exists our existence. In this case, Eden. And the Kruvim at the entrance of the garden, guarding the way back to the tree of life. If any of us had any blocks in our life, if you think about it, and you can focus in on something that's blocking you from succeeding in something, some inner block inside of yourself. So the Kruvim, they can change because they can change from being that which blocks us from getting into Kvar, and that which becomes the welcoming into Kvar, to an already waiting level of consciousness that's there, that's waiting for us to grow into it. And it's not just going into the past, that which already was, it's that which transcends time. Because Kvar, it was already there before. It was in God's mind before. And the Chaf is a hand, opening up of the hand. And the Beit, and the Reish. First my hand, my awareness of my ability to receive. The Kvar, the Beit, my awareness of where I'm sitting right now. The Reish, my head, our heads, our ability to think. To receive new ideas, to receive in Berech, which is the knee. So you have the Beit first. The Beit is the Beit HaMikdash. The Reish is the universe, which is the big Beit HaMikdash. The Beit HaMikdash that we build is big for us, but it's really just a symbol. It's a macrocosm of the great Beit HaMikdash, the 200. The universe itself is waiting for the Aleph. And then we open our hand and receive. If you can see the letters in your mind, all the better. If not, fine. Berech, the flowing down of light, of illumination into the vessels. In Bechor, which is the double portion of blessing. The Rechet, the Merkava, prepare ourselves to become vessels. That the world should become capable of receiving higher energy states, to break apart that which is, in other words, sometimes the energy doesn't want to come in because the world is not worthy. But in order to become worthy, we have to receive more energy. So we have to do something that's going to allow us to become our desire, like Rabbi Nachman says, our desire to receive the higher energy, to connect with Hashem itself is a purification of sorts. And then the more we can receive, the more we can purify ourselves, the more we can be ready ourselves to connect and to be able to receive more and higher. In a sense, history is racing towards a very surprise ending. It might be, if it would be a movie, then it could be the evil ones, the one with the machinations to destroy the world, are racing towards their bomb, their ability to destroy. At the same time, there's this nuclear reactor up in Switzerland or Sweden or whatever, where they're doing these experiments, and they know that the possibility is that if they do it the wrong way, that they could set up a chain reaction where all of reality will switch out of the physical form that we have it in, and it'll just go into another dimension. And they're very afraid of this possibility. So in the movie, as the events become stronger and stronger, and just as the wicked ones are about to blow up the world and destroy it, so then Hashem allows them to do this incredible thing where all of reality transforms into heaven. There's no destruction. But it has to really be very dramatic. It has to be scary. And we have to want the good. We can't just be passive here, because it's a race. We need a good Merkava. We need to be in the water, to be Rabach, to be in the water. To not be, to not receive any negative energy in ourselves, to close ourselves up with the holy water of Torah. To become a Merkava for the powerful energy that Hashem wants to bring down, to receive the double blessing. That the Keruvim should become our guides, our friends. And that we should connect to Kvar, which is the highest level of Eden and beyond. So somehow, just in a kind of a freelance way, start to make sense. And the words and the meanings behind the words and the letters somehow, this is part of some system that once existed, where we, the people of the book, we used words and letters and energy frequencies of the letters in order to purify our minds and to connect to our higher source. So in a sense, as with any kind of guided visualization, you can go, you can walking along a little forest or embankment of sorts, and then you can see the water. And in the visualization, you can go into the water, just step into the water, and just keep walking into the water, and the water comes over your head, and you're now in the water. And the water is another world that opens up for you. And you swim, you fly, and you just imbibe the purity of the waters of Hashem. And if anybody had dreams when they were children of water, dreams of going streams and rivers and mikvahs and going deeper and deeper into, and no fear at all, no fear of drowning, and then flying. So take a few moments to just free your mind, free yourself of any inhibitions, anything holding you back, to feel really good, to feel that there are very powerful, good things coming down right now the pike, and that nothing can stop them. No evil in the world can stand up against the good that's coming down. And that all we want is to be part of that good. We just had Shavuot. I had a very beautiful experience driving into town, driving into Yerushalayim this evening, and humming to myself this beautiful song that it comes from Breslov, which is Yitzhak. I was hoping to see you tonight, that we could share this. Na 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 na. Go ahead. Na 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 na. It was a little complicated when I was singing it to Aleinu. Alken yikaveh lecha Adonai Eloheinu lirot b'tiferet zecha lehavir gelulim min haaretz v'ha'elilim karet kigaretu litaken olam b'malchut na 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 b'malchut Shaddai להפנות אליך לשעי הארץ. The first paragraph of Aleinu is the uniqueness, the singularity, the separation of Am Yisrael from the history of the world. And the second paragraph is, if we do what we need to do to be separate, then we invite all of mankind into the world to come. It's all inclusive, the second paragraph. Everybody comes back. So Hashem, please help us with that one. So back to page 143 in inner space. I was among the exiles. Bless you. So the verse reads, Va'ani b'toch hagola. Va'ani. The Zohar comments that Ezekiel's ani, or the midah, the characteristic that represents his eye, was in exile. B'toch hagola, I was in captivity. My eye, my ani. As we have seen, the idea of ani usually refers to the sphere of Malchut, also known as Shechina, the divine presence dwelling in each person. He has a very nice note on this, 81. The note says, since the word Shechina comes from the root shachan, meaning to dwell, Shechina denotes that God appears to be dwelling in a certain place. Since God's essence fills all creation, this cannot be taken literally. When we say that God dwells in a certain place, we really mean that people can have an additional awareness of God there. Wherever the Shechina rests, there's an enhanced ability to experience the divine. Because if Hashem is everywhere, well, what does it mean Hashem is here? It means that Hashem is everywhere, but Hashem is additionally experienceable here. This is related to prophecy because when a person has a prophetic experience, the Shechina is said to rest upon him. So the more Shechina, the more you're connected, right? But here, his Shechina, his eye is in Galut. When Ezekiel says that his eye is in exile, this is an exact parallel to the exile of the Shechina. Meditatively, Ani is the core of our being and our true self. In fact, what are we trying to do when we meditate? One of the most important goals of Hitbodedut is to become one with our essence, to feel the divine within us. In order to do this, we must learn to gently push away all extraneous mental images and thoughts that fill our minds. As we said, this is essentially a process of disengaging our inner self from its outer trappings. When we then penetrate to the essence of our being, we expect to find the true self. Yet, is this always true? Does one always find the ani after stripping everything away? There could be emptiness. If a person has always defined himself totally in terms of others, then he is not at all his own person. His I could be in exile. His meditation would therefore entail reclaiming his I by directing his consciousness to its divine source. This is called redeeming the Shechina from exile. Whatever he just said here, I don't know how it all came together or where he said it in the film. I don't, but it's something you have to read a few times. Because we don't always have direct access to our inner core. And then we give up. We say, oh, well, I can never do that. And that's not right. That's what we were trying to do before, is that even if there are guards in preventing us from entering in, but those same guards can become our friends, can help us to get connected. So, and just to tie in one more thing, is on the pages of Baruch, Source of All Blessing, on the second page of it, and bring the verse. So I hope you'll look at this when you get home, and bring the verse starting in the middle of the page. A river flowed out of Eden, which he did mention before, right? V'nar yotzei mi Eden, lashkot et hagan, and what is it? Lashkot et hagan, and it, whatever. Okay, I forgot the Hebrew. A river flowed out of Eden to water the garden, and from there divided into 4 major tributaries. So Eden corresponds now not to what Rabbi Kaplan said in the book here, and there are different levels of correspondences. So he brought one correspondence. There's another one. Eden corresponds to the Yud of the name, the level of Chaya, the universe of Atzilut, the sphere of Chochmah, the Partzuf of Abba. The river that flows out of Eden corresponds to the Hay, to Neshama, to Bria, Bina, and Ima. It flows into the garden, the final Hay, Nefesh, Malchut, Shechina, via the Vav, the soul level of Ruach, the 6-sphere of Zeranpi. So it's a little complicated, but it's all one complete one Yud Ke Vav Ke. The right brain is Yud, the left brain going down into the spinal cord, coming out and watering the garden is one complete unified system. So that Rabbi Meir ibn Gabbai, interesting that he was one of the great Mikubalim of his time, and he lived before the Ari. The Ari is born in 1535. So the Ari was only 12 years old when Rabbi Meir ibn Gabbai passed away. So he says, as an extension of the brain, the spinal cord is forever united and bound to its root. The spinal cord, which is the nervous system, is an extension of the brain. Through it, Ruach HaKodesh constantly flows from the brain to the rest of the body like an unceasing spring. This is the secret of V'nahar Yotze Mi-Eden Lashkot et Hagan. The river, the spinal cord, flows out from Eden, the brain, to the water of the garden, the nervous system. Ruach HaKodesh thus constantly flows from Eden, the cerebral cortex, to man's entire spiritual, mental, emotional, physical makeup. Its illumination never ceases. So it's just meditation is in order to get past the external level of our thoughts and of our awareness of our environment, to get into that place inside of us where we realize that the way we are built is magnificent, that we are in the very form of creation itself, of Atzilut all the way down into Asiyah, of Eden all the way down into Gan. The Gemara itself says, Hu Gan, Hu Eden. It's the same thing. And the Gemara says, no, Eden is the higher level called Chochmah, and Gan is the level called Malchut. And in between is Bina and Tever. So we're an embodiment of that system. So we'll speak more about these things as we get towards the end of the course, towards Tisha B'Av. And as much as we can to go through in a flowing way of what Rav Aryeh Kaplan did with this amazing text of Yecheskel. So I really will ask you to look at these things, to make it into a serious course of study, because it's b'chayenu, it's our life. So really bless you and thank you.
Bless you.
And,
You have an extra parable?
parable, yes. Who else didn't get parable? Roberta, Batsheva, did you get parable?
No.
Thank you. Okay. Did you get parable? Did you get the parable?
Which I have. Oh, so you can keep that. I have the book. Here, you have this.
Yeah.
What's your name?
Can you sing it?
Yeah, I think we should sing that one, at least that. No?
Yeah.
Just one
Verse.
Yeah, gotcha.
לכו עוד הנהר, נחלי אמונה. מים עמוקים ידלם האיש תבונה. תוצאותיה 50 שערי בינה. אמונים נוצר